In this lesson, we're going to learn how to calculate surface area. So you may have done this already previously, and maybe you already know what nets are. Nets are just when we take a 3D shape and we pull it out, lay it flat. So this could be something like a Kleenex box. And when we take it apart and lay it flat, this is the shape that it would make. This helps us to calculate the area of the entire shape. Now, we're not going to be doing that each time. We're going to be using a formula sheet, which is based on taking the formula for each of the area of each of the shapes and then adding those together. So with a rectangular based prism, we have over here two rectangles that are the same, another two rectangles that are the same, and another two. So we have 1, 2, 3 different rectangles, and then that gets doubled because we have two of each. So our formula takes each of those 3 different sized rectangles, calculates the area, and then doubles it for the additional rectangle of each size. A triangle-based pyramid takes the triangle, so triangle area would be base times height. Now, when we have a 3D shape, our height is the distance between those two triangles. So we're going to call this part L. The height within the triangle shape only is called L. So base times length and then divided by 2, but times 2 because I have two triangles. So base times length divided by 2 times 2 is just base times length. So this is the area of the two triangles. And then there are 3 separate rectangles that the area is calculated for and added together. In a square-based pyramid, we have the square base, which is the side times itself, or b squared. And then the height, we don't need that. We need for volume. This here, the S, which is called the slant height, which if we look at just the one triangle, it is the height of that. So the base times the slant height divided by 2 gives us the triangle, but we have 4 triangles like that. So because it's divided by 2 but then times 4, in total 2bs is the area of all 4 triangles. In a cone, we have the area of a circle on the bottom, which is pi r squared, and then pi rs is going to give us that the rest of that cone section. We'll take a look at that in the net in a moment. In a cylinder, we have 2 circles, so the pi r squared, we need to double that for the bottom circle and the top. And then the 2 pi r8, so 2 pi r gives us the diameter of a circle. And so that's going to give us, when we'll see in a moment in the net, that this part is actually a rectangle, but one length is the same as the circumference of the circle because it wraps all the way around. So 2 pi r and then multiplied by h. So if we take a quick look at those nets, so the ones I want to focus in on are the cylinder. So this part is the 2 pi r, the diameter, because that wraps around the circle here, and then we have the height. And then with the cone, that pi rs is going to give us this shape here. So let's take a look at a few examples to calculate. I've already written out the formula so we don't have to go back and forth. Good practice is to identify each of the letters from the formula and what they are. It makes it a lot easier to not make mistakes as you are inputting your numbers into the formula. So we have over here, the width is 11 kilometers, the length is 5 kilometers, and the height is 6 kilometers. So you can even identify on your diagram just like this. So now that I'm inputting, so surface area equals 2 times W times H. So W is 11, and I'm going to multiply that by H, which is 6, and then plus L, which is 5, times W, which is 11, plus L, which is 5, times height, which is 6. So BEDMAS tells us that we do brackets first, and then inside our brackets we'll do multiplication first. So we have 66, 55, and 30. Now I can do my addition within my brackets. So that is equal to 151, and now I can do my multiplication. So this is equal to 302. My units were kilometers, and because it's area, that's going to get squared. So that is because over here I had 11 kilometers times 6 kilometers. Kilometers times kilometers is kilometers squared. The same thing happens here and here again, and that's why I can add them, because these are all like terms. They're all an amount in kilometers squared. Okay, our next example, we have a radius of 4 for our cylinder and a height of 6. And pi is equal to, we're going to use 3.14 when we plug in those values. If your calculator has a pi button, you can use that. Your numbers will be slightly different because you're using more precise amount for pi. So over here we have 2 times 3.14 times the radius, which is 4, and that gets squared, plus 2 times 3.14 times the radius, which is 4, times the height, which is 6. So BEDMAS tells us that we square first. Exponents come first, but this is really just 4 times 4, so I can input as 2 times 3.14 times 4 times 4, and that is equal to 100.48. And then I have 2 times 3.14 times 4 times 6, which is 150.72. And now I'm going to add these two amounts, and that's equal to 251.2 inches squared. Next shape we have is a triangular based prism. So I have each of the 3 rectangles, AH, BH, and CH, and then the BL is going to give me the 2 triangles. So A, B, and C are just the amounts around the rectangle. So we have here, the triangle. So we have a 6, an 8, and a 10. So those are going to make up our A, B, C. So it doesn't matter which ones you use. So A is 8 yards. Actually, B needs to be specific. It does need to be our base. Now, because this is a right-angled triangle, so normally we would say that this is our base and that's our length. But when we have a right triangle, there's our base and our 90-degree angle is over here. So in this case, our base is 6, and then our L is 8, but it's also our A for the one rectangle. So the B is 6 yards, and then that leaves the C to be 10 yards. The height, which is the distance between the 2 triangles, is 6 yards, and then once again, the L, because we don't go up through the triangle, it's a right angled triangle, is just the same as one of the sides, but it's the same specifically as not the hypotenuse, so the base and the L have to be the other 2 parts. So because the base is 6, that leaves the L to be 8. So here we have A, which is 8, times height, which is 6, plus B, which is 6, times the height, plus C, which is 10 times the height, and then B times L, so 6 times 8. So we have 48 plus 36 plus 60 plus 48, and that equals 192 yards squared. For our next question, we have a square-based pyramid, so our B is 6 and our slant height S is 8.5. So we have 2 times the base, which is 6, times the slant height, which is 8.5, plus we have the base squared. So this equals 102 plus 36, and that equals 138 miles squared. And our last shape that we'll look at is a cone. So we have our radius and our slant height. And once again, pi is 3.14. So I'm multiplying that by the radius and the slant height, and adding that to 3.14 times the radius squared. So the first part is equal to 175.84, and the second part is 78.5. When we add those together, we end up with 254.34 yards squared.